Well, we're so delighted to have Greg+Vaughn with us today. He's a two-time Emmy Award-winning movie producer, and now he's in the book business. He went from the video to the printed page, and I read his book several years ago. I don't even remember how I got it or why I got it or whatever, but I get so many books, believe me, but I read every word of that book. And it really made a great impact on me. He's from Richardson, Texas, right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Please join Joni and me as we welcome the author of Letters from Dad, Mr. Greg+Vaughn. Greg,
Marcus,
it's great to have you. All right, now, you've got two interesting things here on the table. One is, looks like a beat-up either tackle box or toolbox.
And it looks like it went through the Battle of Armageddon, doesn't it?
It does, or World War II, the Battle of the Bulge.
Well,
what is that?
What is that? Well, first of all, I'd like to, I watched you the other night as you had a tribute to your dad. And Marcus, I thought I was going to be here. What a contrast of legacies that you have versus kind of me, you know? I am a baby boomer. There's not many of us in this world. There's just 82 million, you know? And most of us have this as a definition of being a boomer. We never heard our parents say, especially our fathers, Marcus, "Son, I love you. Sweetheart, you're a treasure in my life." They probably did. They just couldn't say it. That's me. And one day, as I was grieving the loss of my father, he died of Alzheimer's, I was in my garage.
Oh.
Yeah. In my garage, it was easy to lose my mom. It was hard to lose my dad because I never got the blessing or the I love yous. So here I am in my garage, and I turned to my left, Marcus, and the only thing I had left of my father was this tackle box. And I remember thinking, well, I don't hardly fish, so that old relic is going to go in the Dempsey dumpster. So I picked it up and literally walked over, opened the Dempsey dumpster, I was about to toss it, and I heard a word from the Lord. I'm glad I'm with you. You understand that. Some people go, a word from the Lord? What does that mean? And here was the word from the Lord, open the box. So I literally, you can see where I pried open the hinges, and as I opened the box, there was the remnant of my father's life.
Wow, wow, wow.
The Curacomb Gleam, remember that old toothpaste?
Yeah.
But it was that got me. I remember many times seeing my father leave fishing, and I was always thinking, boy, I wish I could go with him. I'd like to fish. And in that moment, the Lord spoke another question to me, and as I tossed the lures in the tackle box, he said this, "Hey, big shot, you're out here in your garage all mad at your world. I've got a question for you. If you were to die today out here in the garage, what would your wife and 7 children, what would they hold in their hands tomorrow that would let them know that they were the treasures of your life?"
Wow, wow, wow.
And that was the beginning of Letters from Dad. Marcus and Joni, I knew that it had something to do with the written word, and I'm not a writer. And I got stuck, and I called 12 of my buddies, and I asked them this question. I said, do you have a letter of love and blessing from your father? Cards don't count. P.S. I love you on cards. That's not what I'm talking about. But an intentional, purposeful letter. As I asked that question and travel all over the nation, do you know what the statistic is, Marcus?
I bet it's very low.
Joni's about 2 or 3%. I've been in groups of 400 or 500 and no one stood. And so that is the power of Letters from Dad, that we unlock our hearts and say the things we've always wanted to say, and furthermore, we put it in writing.
You know, and I want to talk about the reverse of that for just 1 second. I said to my children this Christmas, I said, I don't want you to spend any money on me. But if you would just write me a letter or just write something down from your heart to me, it would mean more to me than any gift you could ever buy. But to think about it from this perspective, your father is gone, but if you had a letter, it would just be immortalized, what he thought, what he felt. It would be such a treasure, wouldn't it? So, Greg, you started doing that, and how did your children react when you first gave them that first letter?
Well, I have to, in the context of the story, I called 12 of my buddies and asked them, this is here in Dallas, if you have this kind of letter. I said, do you have that? No. What would you get for one if you did? Oh, like you said.
Priceless.
Priceless, more than you ever know. Final question, I'm going to leave you alone. Have you ever written such a letter to your children? No. Don't you think we should? Yes. So we got together and we decided that we would write 4 letters. Marcus and Joni. Not 44. I never met a man alive that wrote 44 letters. We would write a blessing letter to our wives because they're the ones that gave us the privilege of being a father.
Yes.
A blessing letter to our children, each and every one of them. I'd never written 7 letters in my life. And our grandchildren. A blessing letter to our parents, to go back to them and say, thank you for all that you did.
Oh, that's so good.
Because God says, honor your mother and father that your days will be long. Now, this was the hard one. We decided that we would write the final letter of our life that no one reads till we go be with Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
It is the center part, the celebration of our going home.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
So you asked me what my kids thought, and I only can answer that in terms of not just my kids, because I gave it at Christmas. We give a bunch of junk and stuff, don't we, at Christmas time? And I wrote my letters of blessing to my children, and I put it in this beautiful mahogany treasure chest.
That is beautiful.
I put my favorite picture, this is my grandson, I put my favorite picture of them on it, and I engraved a plaque. And then inside it was a letter. And essentially, guys, it goes like this. What is your oldest son or daughter's name?
Oldest son is Jonathan.
My dear and precious Jonathan, the older I get, the more I realize there's some things I get out of my heart and my mind and put them on paper. So Jonathan, I know this, without a treasure chest for your treasures, you will surely lose your treasure. And Dad wanted to be the one to give you a treasure box. Now, I know that through life you'll be getting some important cards, maybe from your kids of the future. And as I write you from time to time, would you please honor me by placing my cards in your treasure box so that long after I'm gone, there'll be a safe place to read of my love. Those are the concepts, Marcus and Joni. And from those 12 men here in Dallas, they said, we want to invite our friends. Next semester, there was 130. Then 700.
Wow.
And then the book came, and now we're in 1,500 churches in 4 years.
Wow.
I can just tell you this, without a doubt, every father, every parent should get involved with this. I want to show you the book again, Letters from Dad. I've read it. You will love this book. It'll inspire you. It'll give you ideas, helpful ideas, because a lot of us are not writers, and we think, oh, how could I do that? And I want to encourage you about this. Don't type it out. Don't do it in an email. But having your handwriting that they can see, your personal touch, even if it's just scribbling, but knowing that it was your handwriting and that you took the time and you made the effort will mean so very much.
You know, this is so touching, and I'm thinking about those of you that are listening today who maybe you didn't know your father, or maybe you don't have a father, or maybe your relationship with your father has been very strained. What would you say to those that are listening? They say, you know, I would like to write those letters, but I really don't know how to go about it because maybe I don't even know who my father is. What would you say to them, Greg?
I would say to them that they need some tools. They need some help. You can't start from zero. And I prepared something. I'll call it the Celebration Valentine's Challenge. Valentine's, there's 2 things happening in February. The men go, yeah, that's the Super Bowl. Well, a week later, it's Valentine's.
Yeah.
And I would say to them, the simplest letter, the most powerful letter in the arsenal of Letters from Dad is a letter called the I Am Blessed Because letter. And if you could, just think of someone you love and think about the positive things that they are to you. Why are they a blessing in your life? And I've even prepared it, put it on our website. It's called the I Am Blessed Because letter. And it's simply almost, guys, a fill in the blank. And put that together and give it for this Valentine's. Here's
All right,
what,
so there's the lettersfromdad.com. You can go to the website right
now,
there.
this is what we're going to do to Walmart and Hallmark. We're going to tear those cheap cards up, and we're going to.
Hey, they're not cheap anymore.
Well, they're
by
not
the way.
cheap, but
Yeah.
this is cheaper.
Yeah.
Your handwritten letter telling those that you love why you're blessed.
And I just thought of something. You know, it's not going to hurt you if you want to sit down at your computer to formulate the letter first.
Right.
Because it'd be easy to move words around or erase them, whatever. But once you're finished, then write it out by hand.
What we have found is that men need some help. You just don't say, do it. You know, so Letters from Dad kicks off in churches all over with a big barbecue for guys. And in that big arena, the message is given, like you've just given. Get involved, do it. But then we prepare tools and methods and put them in accountability groups. They're called legacy groups. And there.
So now, Greg, how did you heal from some of the hurts associated with your father?
Well, I had to deal with my anger, Joni. I had to say my dad did the best he could. And I had to begin being thankful. He did put a roof over my head. He did come to my football games. He did love me because, you know what, he could tell other people he loved me. So I began to focus on not my anger, but on my thankfulness to my father.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And on the positives.
And on the positives.
Because there were more positives
Yes.
than negatives.
It's the
Yeah.
90-10 rule. You know, we focus on the 10, and there was others.
That's good.
Well, we've got a roll-in about the letters from Dad. Let's go to that right now, and let's watch this together.
My dad couldn't say the words, I love you. He couldn't say the words, Greg, I'm proud of you.
I determined that I wanted to leave a legacy to my children, my wife, my grandchildren, and even my great-grandchildren.
God hit me with a little question. It went kind of like this. If you were to die today, what would your kids hold in their hands tomorrow that would let them know that they were the treasures of your life?
The Lord has given daughters this incredible God longing to be blessed and to be loved by your Father.
Letters from Dad that I was introduced to about a year ago has given me the tools to implement the very things that I did not receive as a young man.
We underestimate. We so underestimate our influence in our children's life.
And I called my dad that night and I said, you know, Dad, you think that you wrote that letter, but truth be told, it was really written from the hand of God.
My dad found the heartbeat of a father in helping them say the things they've always wanted to say, but never found the right words at the right time to say it.
In written form, you would not believe what's in these letters. He could communicate his heart, his hopes, his dreams, and his desires.
With the help from Letters from Dad, we actually went through a program where we wrote individual letters to our wives. We wrote individual letters to our children on the very things that they were having problems with. And I received a blessing in return when I saw what it meant to them.
As I was reading the letter, I felt like we were the only two people on earth. To know that my husband took the time to put his thoughts in words. And he wasn't afraid, he wasn't ashamed, he might have felt a little uncomfortable, but it didn't matter what anyone else thought. He was thinking about me, and I'll cherish that forever.
I'll encourage you today, get the book, read it. It'll help you, it'll teach you, it'll inspire you. Let your pastor know about this. This is a movement that's sweeping across America. This is effective in any language, in any culture, for you that are watching around the world. I encourage you to do this. And in closing, there's also a female version of this. Tell us briefly about that, Greg.
We do. I fought it for years because I didn't want it to be called Letters from Mom. If there's letters from Mom, there'd never be letters from Dad because we would defer to them. But I came with a concept called Blessings from the Heart, a Woman's Legacy. And that resonated because I have 30-year-old single daughters. I wanted them, and widows, divorced. And so Blessings from the Heart, a Woman's Legacy is the name of it.
Okay, there's the information on the screen, so I encourage you to find out more about it. Put this into practice. Greg, thank you for this wonderful, wonderful ministry. The Voices of Lee are here today from Cleveland, Tennessee. They're over in Studio B. We're going to hear from them in just a moment. But first, let's watch this together.